All right, so now we have our base tile here that is pretty much a repeat process of what we did in the clay or quarry sort of setup. And now let's go through and see what we can do creating sort of a grasslandy area with some of the higher elevations being rather rocky. Now, there's a couple ways that I want to do this, two of which we're going to showcase yet again methods of stamping or using an alpha map or height map to stamp details in. And before I get any further, let's go ahead and save as this project. And we'll just call this grasslands. That way we're not losing anything whatsoever. All right, great. Thanks, Easy Prey, because I just wanted to make sure I had to fix my noise gate or my, not noise gate, but my gate on the audio. And when I was getting a little low, it was clipping weirdly for Twitch, but on my actual recording, it was perfectly fine because they're separate audio sources. So, all right, perfect. Thanks for the confirmation. All right, so as I was saying, we're going to create a couple different stamps of detail. But first, let's get the lighting kind of where we want it, because there is still some weird, I guess we could do the fast render to kind of see a little bit of what we want. Let's see, there we go. So we could do fast render to see a little bit easier of what we're doing. But I kind of like not showing the fast render, even though the fast render is pretty cool. Let's see, let's turn this down a little bit. There we go. The sun strength was just still a little bit too much. All right, so let's think about rolling hills. I think this terrain is a little bit too steep. So in the global settings, let's play around with the overall heights some. Let's take the noise height here and drop the top value down a little bit. All right. And let's then go and add some. Let's try and find a filter that'll work out well for us. I haven't tested this particular scenario up front. I haven't tested this terrain up front like I did the last time. So, okay, we could do this one. So I did have to fix that some. Oh, I see. So there was the issue with having it blend in a little bit. Let's try and fix this mask. That is really... That is very sharp, and I did not want it to be that sharp. All right, let's actually, let's clear this and import that again. All right. And this time we'll just pull the noise up to around the level that is. That seems to be a little bit better. And we'll clean that up later on because I didn't like how that was affecting our terrain there. All right, so let's see. Let's turn off balloon. Well, maybe we should go back to here and bump up our noise a smidge. Go back to balloon. All right, so we have some overall hills here. I don't like that. Let's see. Let's try and get the balloon to affect mainly our bigger detail here. So here's the starting value, and I don't want it to take away too much of the detail, but I still want it to add some. So we'll just smoothen that out a little bit. There we go. That mask isn't quite working for me. If we could take it down to 1%. Oh, we're actually subtracting. Yeah, see, it's really feathering that. I don't like it feathering that much. Maybe we can come down into the planes. That's fine. We'll just do that. We'll work with that. That's fine. All right. And all right, so we're going to save this. And now let's change this biome a little bit. Actually, yeah. Let's get this to be a little something different. Actually, that's not bad. Let's go through here. Let's see. Thin flows. Oh, that's not terrible, but that's not what we want. All right, yeah, let's distort it just a smidge, but just a smidge. I think it's maybe make the distortion pretty large. And will only affect the larger details. So if here's nothing, here is a crazy amount of distortion. I don't think I want to do it that much. Maybe this way. Just add a little bit of variation there. I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll fix this little nublator. I wouldn't worry too much about that. And octaves are just the sort of granular edges to that mask or to that distortion. But I think around the default of 2, I think seemed fine with us, or with me at least. I don't know what you guys think, but we're just going to work with that. Add another filter, and let's see. Let's see what wind does. Oop, wrong one. Well, that does kind of lower some of that aspect. All right, so the length factor of wind pretty much tells you the value of how much the wind is going to stretch the terrain in a direction. And that direction is obviously 120 degrees from, if I press F, it's 120 degrees from this orientation. So if I were to make it very lengthy, let's see. Well, I would have to up the strength so that you can see this. Hold on, let me lower these down to a smidge. This direction, you can kind of see it moving that direction, but that's a bit too drastic. I'm just moving it around to kind of see. I don't mind that dip there, but I do mind this. We'll fix that in a minute. Or we may fix that. I'm not quite sure if we'll have time for that particular part today, because there's a couple other aspects that I wanted to showcase, particularly with this stamping part. All right, so you can see it just adds a smidge of detail. Let's keep it on. And add wide flows. Wide flows are really nice. I like these a lot. Maybe we'll add wind afterwards, before, after. So it does just a little bit. And we'll lower those percentages down a little bit and maybe raise levels 4 and 5 just a smidge. All right, nothing wrong with dipping down. We can work with that. But I don't want it to fill too much of the planes here. So before for sediment filled hard, after, and we can actually, for that sedimentation, we can also change the length of it. And if we increase the length all the way, you can see it adds a whole lot more sedimentation. So let's see how much we want to add. I think that's fine. Let's see. Before and after the distortion. Let's see if we raise the scale up a little bit on the distortion. Add a few more variants of rolling hills. Actually, that's not looking too bad. All right, so let's go ahead and save this. And what I really wanted to show with this is a really cool stamping method. So we were to go to Bridge, Quixel Bridge. If you have Megascans, then this would be a perfect opportunity. But if you don't want to use Megascans or you want to use World Creator to do this, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But the other cool thing is, let's create a new biome. And we will create, I believe it was add. Sorry. We will not select add, we will select none, and we will select inherit filters. So nothing with the second biome here, we've established that the operation of none is going to pretty much negate the base shape and base noise as far as these global parameters for this particular biome. So whatever we do in here with this base noise or shape isn't going to do anything to the terrain. However, whatever we do in the filters or textures or materials in this case will affect the terrain. So I'm splitting these so that I can be non-destructive about it. I don't want to add too many filters here. I want to make sure that this particular biome, the orange biome, is sort of the base details of what you see here. And just for organization purposes, I'm creating a new biome with those particular settings and making sure that inherit filters is turned on so that it inherits the filters of the global biome. And that way, in this particular biome, I can go in here and add some filters specific to design relation. And in this case, the design that I'm going to be doing is adding rock striations to the top of these hills. So let's go ahead and showcase the first method. So within Quixel Bridge, let's see, I can't remember which collection it is. I think it was the Moab collection that had a pretty good example from the last stream that I tested out. So Canyons of Utah. We're going to select surfaces. All right, so this particular one right here, this texture had some really cool striations in the rock, but we're not going to use this texture so much so as we're going to be using this displacement map. So let's find this and go to Files. And here is this particular texture. Here is the displacement. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this so that I can put it in my Catan folder. So clay, and I'm just going to paste this here real quick. All right, so in here, add filter, design, and height map. So this design and height map is the location that you're always going to go to whenever you want to add pretty much a stamp, an alpha stamp. So we're going to select this, then that particular height map, we're going to drag and drop it into the none slot. And you can see that the texture has populated the scene. So this, that height map here is pasting basically on top of the terrain, but it's not exactly the right level. So let's increase this. All right, so in level 12, you can see this is the sort of fidelity that this particular texture has, but it's obviously taken over the terrain. So we're going to have a little bit more control on what this this texture does. So let's go ahead and make sure that we have the area enabled to on. And then we can move these controls over. And then we can seemingly just paste this wherever we want. So we can have some creative freedom on where we want this to go. This is obviously pretty strong. So let's lower the height scale to somewhere around 20%, see what that does. That's still maybe a little too strong. So how about 10%? All right, so 10% seems pretty good, and I can scale this however I want. If I want to adjust the blending of the curve here, I can do the blend radius all the way up to 1%, so that blending is now a circle. If I were to lower it all the way to the bottom, it's more so of a square, and I think we're going to keep it as a square right now. And we can increase the blend size so it feathers out a little bit more, but it's this blend size here for the actual height map that I want to increase to around 50% so that it kind of, you can see it smooths those edges a little bit more. And now if I want to make rock striations, let's see, which direction do we want to do this? Let's make them go this way, just as a test. So these are okay, but let's make it really small and really prominent. I can rotate it. See these, I'm making sort of a stripe of rocks, basically. Maybe we can feather this out a little bit. There we go. We can blend that just a smidge better. Let's turn it this way. And now if we select, we can do actually some custom edging around here. So let's go ahead and increase the scale a little bit so that we can kind of showcase our point. So if we didn't, that actually doesn't look terrible. If we didn't want this edging to be super smooth, we can affect the, we can add a FX plus here. And maybe we wanted to affect the curve of this height map. Yeah, so say we want to do something like this. You see, we're affecting sort of how this particular height map is appearing. So the bottom left corner here is pure black on the height map, and the top right corner here is pure white on this height map. So we're just sort of affecting those output levels some. So that's one way that you can kind of blend those in a little bit. That's actually not too bad. If we were to lower this, maybe raise this and pop this up just a smidge so it blends in just a little bit, kind of like a increased value. And lower the overall strength, perhaps. So that's one way that we can add a stamp, a designed stamp in here. Pretty nifty. And then say, I really like this. So I'm going to double right click, add another one, but this time let's rotate that design. And then now we have two stamps. Maybe this one's just a smidge less. Or more of a smidge less. There we go. So now we have some sort of striations that are adding an interesting sort of pipeline to our terrain. I really want, in this grasslands, I want the bottom of this area to be really grassy, but I want just this these rocky striations to take up that upper area. All right, so now let's say we're going to keep that the way it is. Actually, let's add one more height map stamp to the right here. But let's move it the other orientation. Well, the other, that's, I'm reversing the height map just a little bit more. And we'll widen it out so that it has, I'm widening it out so that we can have it blend in to this edge just a little bit easier. Yeah, like this. There we go. So just a unique little stamp. All right, next, let's go ahead. I want to show you, like, if you don't have access or don't want to use megascans, and you can use, any number of assets from megascans. You can use an alpha map or a displacement map or an albedo map and import that as a height map and just paste so many different detailed elements on the terrain. But let's just assume that you don't want to do that, or your access to megascans isn't through Unreal Engine, but it's through some other means and you don't want to pay for it, etc. You can actually create these sort of effects within World Creator and use them as stamps. So let's go ahead and do an example of that, and we'll paste that example here in the right. And so, this is kind of leading more into the tutorial-esque nature of this, which is okay. We can do that. So let's do a new project. And we've already saved this, so that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to increase the soil height again because I don't like that height being where it's at. All right, so let's say we want to have the strength just to have higher details. And let's see what we can do here. So noise levels, let's say we want to crank these up, lower those. So we'll make the noise levels pretty exaggerated. We'll do for a 4K precision as well. And let's change the seed some. Let's find something that's pretty procedural. How about, that'll be fine, because we're going to pretty much crunch the living daylights out of this. All right, so add filter. Let's maybe do, where's distortion? There we go, distortion. We won't affect the big details. We just want, in this particular case, to affect the small details. So I'm going to create a sort of a smooth arc up this way. And let's see, scale. Let's do scale this. And we will, so there's before, there's after. Maybe let's increase the octaves a smidge. There we go. Add a little bit of extra detail. Let's see, zero border. We can do zero border. So kind of crunch the edges a little bit. All right, so now let's make this pretty rocky. So canyon is okay. We'll do canyon's adding too much. I think distortion is changing a little bit too much. We shall see. No, that's fine. All right, so then let's go ahead and let's see what we can do. Dry canyon. Rocky plateaus, rocky sharp, rocky cliffs. This is a pretty good one. Let's do rocky cliffs, and then let's add rocky wide. Wait. This one should be pretty fine. So now we're really getting to some of that rocky nature. Interesting effect. All right. Then let's see. Let's add. Maybe we can do canyons at this point. No, let's keep it deflate. I don't want to do another distortion. Oh, no, not that one. Rugged. That one's not bad, but let's see. Ooh. Wide flows isn't terrible. I'm probably taking a bit too much time in explaining this. Let's see what balloon does, but let's reverse the direction. And let's only make it not those high details. Let's make it this detail. So yeah, so we're basically just crunching the edge in a little bit. There we go. Sun is a really tricky thing, huh? All right. So we've crunched those in just a smidge. Now let's go ahead and add a bit more. Maybe we can do canyon. Oh, canyon is just too much. Here we go. Let's do hard. And then let's go ahead and add another. Well, Voronoi is not too bad. All right, let's inflate certain elements. Not those. All right, that's not bad. Something really rugged, and we'll lower it to be this. And then let's see. We'll crank up. No. Let's push it back to about where it was. All right, so now we can add canyon. So let's maybe lower the length a bit. All right. So this is just a pretty rough example. So what we're going to do is let's just export this out as a height map. So export, let's just choose height map. I don't really care so much. We can set it as a PNG, make it a 16-bit. All right, so let's select a folder. And we are I am just filtering through to find the Catan folder. All right, so here, Settlers of Catan. We'll select OK and export selected. That's working. It should have exported it by now. There we go. Here is that particular height map. All right. It's a little wonky, but this will be the example that we showcase in this particular method. All right. It looks like I didn't save that biome. Oh, we did. Oh, I just didn't. It didn't save the extra height map, so that's okay. We will add it back. So that, I think we found a glitch there. All right, so we have the detail back to where it was right here. So let's add that new height map that we just created right here. So let's just create a new filter so we can go through the process again. Height map. This time, let's get rid of that. This time, let's choose the height map that we just created. So we're going to plug this in. And if we wanted to see the full fidelity of that height map, we just choose the highest, not that one, because it should be around right here. So this is sort of the highest fidelity. I know it's got some of that PNG issues, but that's okay. We're not going to put it on level 10, but you can see we can change the sort of level steps that this is affecting. I think level step 9 should be fine because we're going to add an area to this particular height map. Interesting. It's not wanting to. Now, of course, you would do this to me right now. That is interesting. Why would you not show me the positioning of the area now? Yeah, I know it's right there. We're having all sorts of fun times. So let's just save this where it's at because we may need to just restart World Creator. Grasslands. All right, let's see if it can't just give us. There we go. All right, even though it's still hiding the height map, we at least have the correct height map this time, or the ability to edit the height map this time and its positioning. There are still some bugs to be had, so that's okay. All right, now let's add a height map design, or go to design, add a height map. And then we will do the height map we just created. Tell it is on an area. Perfect. Now we are in business. There we go. We could see that a little easier. So we just basically created this stamp in World Creator. And we're just going to play around with where we want this. We're going to make it a striation as well. So that entire height map that we just created is basically a stamp for us. Blend range is 50%. Blend radius is a little further out. And height scale, I'm going to lower this down a smidge. There we go. Let's see what level step. That's just a bit too smooth. There we go. So now we've got some of those striations showing up here. And this is exactly sort of the effect that I was hoping to achieve, particularly with this one. This one's a little bit much. Let's make this one's blend radius a little wider. Sorry, not that one, it's blend size. There we go. Maybe it's not that strong. All right, there we go. And this one, we will double right click that. Rotate this one 180 degrees. And now we have a rocky stamp on this edge. So it's not perfect, but it gets the idea that I was wanting to achieve. And we can even, in this biome, since we're designing sort of this edge up here, let's add another height map, but let's add, this time, let's see, let's add a canyon effect to the top of this, but I don't want it to affect everything. I just want this particular canyon to affect the top area. So add distribution mask. Let's add a 2K mask in this case. Clear everything. And we will smooth this out. Let's maybe make this around 50%. So now we can paint in where we want this mask to be. So I want it to be a little bit through here. Maybe we increase that a bit more. Yeah, so we want it to be a little bit through this region right here in the middle. That way we're assuming that there is some sedimentation getting caught in the middle of these crevices. Maybe it does affect a little bit more. Now there's many reasons why this could, or these striations could be here. I have to show some examples on the next stream, but there's plenty of examples that you can find that shows rock striations around the grassy plains area. And then let's see, we could, if we wanted to, do the same thing. Let's be done with this particular edit. So now this dry canyon is just in the area that you see in red. Let's save this before we forget. All right, let's add a new filter. Let's see, ridged. Denoise is pretty good. We're going to talk about denoised at another time. Smooth the ridges. Actually, that's not a bad idea. We could smooth and make the length pretty small so that maybe some of these edges are a little too sharp. We could smooth the edges some. You can see it's just added a little bit of essence there. So it's kind of crunched those rocks down just a little bit. That height, the height of these is a little higher than I was anticipating. So maybe we lower this some. That is way too low. Hold on, I completely messed up the offset. Let's change the scale to around 6% here. Maybe that's just, all right, so that's just the base terrain. So we'll lower, I'll do another stamping process to show you how to lower the base terrain in certain areas, especially right there. Let's see. Yeah. This one's a little too high, but next week we'll do some more sculpting because we're running a little bit close on time here. So let's go ahead and do just a quick texturing pass just to get some color in here. Just a quick color pass. Actually, let's do one last color pass. Make sure this one's black, but we will do this one based on that masked area. And clear import just right there. There we go. So we've just created the hexagon again, but that's okay. Let's keep this as white and let's do cavity. Convex will let us choose all the top bits. Let's see. Threshold. All right, so let's keep the threshold pretty high. And the step size basically just lets you adjust the amount of convex area. This making it really low is a good idea too, or like 0.002, and you can get those super subtle details. And that's sort of like peppering the landscape. Actually, let's keep that. Let's do this again. Make the step size a little bit wider. We'll make it wider. We will add a little bit of distortion to the edge. That's a bit too much distortion. Maybe the distortion scale is really high. There we go. Make sure the octaves are up really high on that distortion. And you can see right around this edge, it's pretty straight. But if we increase that distortion amount, you can see it adds a little bit of edge blending there. And then let's go ahead and add a height. So we can see that it is moving right there. If we were to I don't like that. Let's add a mask and do just a low poly mask. Clear. And let's do, brush strength. Let's make sure we can choose where we want that rock area to be. Maybe the smoothness isn't quite so abrupt. I'm just going to paint in this area. There we go. So that's fine, but I think right here is a bit much. So we're going to reduce that a little bit. There we go. Maybe it's a little, removing some of that right here. All right. That is a bit much. There we go. So we're just affecting those rocky areas, and we'll clean this up. This is a little heavy. We can add more details to kind of polish those around a little bit. And let's duplicate this. And what we're going to do here is darken it up just a smidge. We'll make this another cavity, this time concave. Step size really low. Something pretty low. Do it again. Remove the cavity, and we're going to add the flow distribution method to this one. Let's see, maybe this particular one. This blend is around 40%. So the flow, we can see here is the flow. So maybe we can add the range strength up just a smidge. That's a bit too much. All right, so in this case, we're adding, well, let's see how this looks. Not bad, but let's lower the blend value a smidge. All right, we're getting there. All right, I'm going to save. Question, can I use this in Unreal 5 with texture? Can you... yeah, you can use this in Unreal Engine 5 for sure. And And there's a couple, and we're definitely going to be doing that in this series. I'm going to eventually take all of these tiles that we're going to create, like this particular tile, and I'm going to plug it into Unreal Engine 5. I don't think I'm going to do it with 4. I think I'm just going to stick with 5. But there's a couple methods whenever we get to that stage, when I have all the tiles sort of designed, then we'll plug them all into Unreal. We could export this out as a background mesh. So like this color, all these colors that I'm adding would seemingly be the texture, but I'm really in Unreal going to replace all these colors with an actual Megascans texture, but within Unreal. I'm not going to do that as the final output here. But I will go through that process just to show you guys how to do it, because perhaps for LOD reasons, maybe we can export a low res version of this with the Megascans textures applied to it within World Creator as sort of a background element. So absolutely. I keep messing up there. All right, we'll do one more texture. And this one, we will make it a little bit drier, a little bit brighter, and perhaps, let's see, where's the roughness? Roughness threshold. Let's see, step size. Yeah, cavity. We're going to do the concave step size here. That is an interesting effect, actually. So that's one way we could go about it, but I don't quite like that. Let's blend it with height. There it is. I want this dry color to kind of, let's put it midway there, and sometimes simple flow works out fine. I'm actually going to change this up a little bit because I don't think. Oh, sorry. Like every part have its own layer. Okay, so once I exported in Unreal, it exported and made so many layers. Are you talking about a previous project that you've already worked on? Hey, welcome. We're actually about to end the stream here in just a few minutes. So every part has its own layer. I'm not quite sure. Or you mean like each part of the textures has its own layer info in Unreal? Because that definitely is something we're going to be doing for sure. There we go. So let's do that. And then blur those edges just a smidge. There we go. That's kind of what I want to do, like a little peppered effect just on the edge of the hillside there. Hey, no worries at all. Fortunately, I have this recorded. And plus, once we end the stream, you can always just rewatch it on Twitch for like the next couple months or something if you wanted instant viewing. But I do record all these streams, so no harm at all. And Solo, I will definitely be going through the whole process of using each and every one of these texture layers here as a as sort of layer info within Unreal, especially with terrains. There's some pros and cons to different methods. Some of these color methods, like if I have two different colors here that are very similar, like these two colors here are identical, but they have completely different distribution methods on the terrain. I will just merge these two together, and then that'll be a single texture within Unreal so that you don't have multiples of the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry. So not the texture height map. When I exported from World Creator to Unreal, the Unreal landscape add the height map, and it makes so many landscapes layers. That's an interesting case. Since we are ending here in just a few minutes, do you mind taking a few screenshots of what's happening and tag me in the Discord and post it? Let me bring up Discord. Post it in, let's see, under the World Creator 2022, if I'm assuming that's what you're doing. Post it in support and then just tag me. So Design with TP or 23 Mr. T-Bone, same. Well, I can't type. So tag me here with some of the pictures of what's happening, and I'll see if I can't give you a little bit more guidance when I think about on it. Yeah, because we're definitely going to be going through the Unreal process for sure. But yeah, absolutely. So to end today, this is sort of where we're at with this terrain. So this will be sort of the terrain that's available to everybody or this stream will be available to everybody on YouTube in a week or two. Next week's stream will be going through where we polish this a little bit further. But that stream will only be available, well, the recording of that stream will only be available to Patreon users. But you can still watch this VOD on Twitch for a few months after the fact. So there's no harm there. And then we'll see. Maybe depending on if we have some good viewers and good conversations and it turns out the way I want, maybe we can make this available on YouTube as well, because I want it to be pretty open to everybody. So let's save this real quick. And for those who are here that actually saw the whole process, did you have any quick questions before we end the stream on what we sort of showcased today? We kind of ran through a bunch of things pretty quickly, but it kind of showcased the whole inclusive nature of what we did from start to finish of a single hexagon tile. I do know I need to clean up. These edges aren't looking too great, but you get the idea that what we're going to be doing. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. We will be here again next Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for another stream. I may do a different landscape, but we'll probably spend half of the next stream then polishing this one up for further texturing and whatnot. I think the details are pretty much there. We may do some more sculpting, because in the last stream that I did, I showcased some pretty unique sculpting by using just a pure white texture. So we'll do that next week on this particular landscape, and we'll kind of start a new tile as well. So till then, I'll see you guys next time.